Welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and excited as always on this Wednesday. It's been 2 Wednesdays in a row. We've had our guy, Mr. 𝗟𝗓𝗡 on, so juiced to have him here on the first segment before he departs and hops over on Pat McAfee. Going to get Rocky Boiman on here a little bit later. He's seen Georgia. He's seen Ole Miss. He's a Notre Dame alum. Talk a little bit about what he's seeing in the world of college football. It is 9/11, so talk a little bit about that, some of the AP rankings as well. So a big show today with a lot of stuff going on. But without any further ado, I'd like to welcome the guy over here to my right, as I look at it, I guess, Mr. Aaron James Hawk. How we doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great. Great to be back here with you guys, you two meatheads.
Well, if you can't beat them, join them. That's what I've always been told. Schlegs yesterday dove into the sour cream versus ranch discussion. Hates sour cream, loves ranch. Your thoughts on either of these?
Yeah, I mean, two substances that I thought Schlegs would enjoy both of those, actually. But I know the love that Schlegs has for ranch. My brother, first time he ever met Schlegs drove him around in his truck and took him to B-dubs, dunked about 80 wings, he said, right in front of my brother's face. Boom, and just sucked them all dry right in front of him. I don't think Ryan actually got any of them, to be honest with you. Now that I remember him telling me the story. But yeah, I'm a ranch guy. I don't love ranch, but I'm not obsessed with ranch. I think it's good for sure, but I don't like sour cream at all. I'm not eating that on anything.
You're not even eating sour cream on your tacos?
No, sir. No way, Schlegs. Can't do that. No, sour cream is not my thing.
Yeah, I feel you, bro. I mean, it's like, how do you feel about ketchup? I remember growing up, I always used to tell my dad, like, I don't like tomatoes. I never liked tomatoes. And then I went to the Air Force Academy, did survival training. I started eating tomatoes. I started eating onions. But before that, I hated tomatoes, but I love ketchup. You guys know my affinity I love condiments, right? But ketchup, how do you like ketchup? You like tomatoes?
I don't really love tomatoes. As I've gotten older, I'll eat tomatoes every once in a while if they're presented, if it looks good, I guess. But I like ketchup on certain things, not on everything. Like my wife, her side of the family, they eat ketchup on all their eggs, which I think is disgusting. I disagree with that completely. Yeah. A couple of my kids do too. It ruins them because I love making myself 10 eggs scrambled and eating them, and then if a little dab of ketchup from any of my family gets on there, man, I don't like it.
Wait, she has infiltrated the kids and incepted them with ketchup as the way to eat eggs?
A couple of them. My daughter loves ketchup on everything. Ketchup with bacon, all of that. Yeah, they love it.
Oh, we got to have Uncle Bob get over there because we're ruining a great thing, putting ketchup on eggs. I like ketchup as much as the next guy, but I don't eat it on eggs. Schlegs, I want to ask you this because you sat there and told me that you learned to like tomatoes and onions at Air Force so are you telling me that during survival training, they gave you onions and tomatoes to eat? Is that what we're saying here?
I mean, you're in the mountains for like 3 weeks and
the tomato farms up there?
No. Like during basic training, like I wore a football girdle in because I already knew it because I went to the prep school. So I knew how to prepare. And I knew that I was going to lose weight. So I wore my girdle and I just stuffed every orifice of that girdle with freaking protein bars, man. Like stuff that wasn't going to go out, right? The thigh boards and the hip pads.
And soggy tomatoes? What do you mean? You put tomatoes in there?
No, I did not. Now, that was basic training. Fast forward to survival training going into my sophomore year, they were checking for contraband significantly. I mean, it took every ounce of my wits to be able to bring in a couple of
you had the keys to those things. Yeah, luckily your old training.
The Copenhagen ones, okay?
Yeah.
So anyways, get that visual.
Well, the onions have layers, Schlegs, so you can kind of peel off that top layer.
Literally, this is what happened. There was like a fire alert. We couldn't have fires out there, so we only had to boil everything. So they would give you like a rabbit, and then you had to like kill the rabbit. So you get somebody, like a female in your squad, and she would hit it on the back of the neck and kill the rabbit, and that's a whole other story. And then you would skin it. So I'm the only person that knows how to do these kind of things. So I skin it. We had a boil, like we had a pot thing that we threw it in and we were boiling it. And then they had other things, right? Like vegetables and stuff. Now they also had tomatoes like on the side. I'm starving, man. So like there's just an onion, there's a tomato. I just ate them. It's like, I was starving. I end up getting like a back quarter of the rabbit. And there you go. That's what I had. So after survival training and not having eaten for like 3 weeks because you had some MREs and I was eating grasshoppers, that's why I was able to pound that cicada. No problem. Already eaten insects before. So, but that's what got me. Like, if you don't have it, you're just going to start eating anything.
Yep. I appreciate that, Schlegs. I mean, AJ's bachelor party, that's the first time I had any sushi because I was starving to death in my mind. And it was 10:30 and we were going to go out and I needed to finish the food that was on the table. And some of it was live raw fish, if you will. So I ended up eating some of that. Food talk has been fantastic, but you guys had Aaron on. I thought he looked great on Monday Night Age. We started talking a little bit about J.K. Dobbins. You guys had both of those guys on. The interaction between them was absolutely tremendous. I didn't realize that they rehabbed together, and J.K. going at Jim Harbaugh was awesome.
Oh yeah, I see. You guys know J.K. much better than I do, but man, what a positive influence that guy feels like. What a great teammate it seems like he would be. Like we showed him a clip of Harbaugh, patting the old QB down before the game like he always does, and JK, I think, saw that for the first time on the show, and he was like crying. He even said he had like tears coming out. He was crying, laughing, just so like showing like how authentic Harbaugh is and how it is there and how much they enjoy themselves. But yeah, it was funny to hear him talk about what did he say? Oh, those might not count. He acted like those games might not count or whatever. Like hearing that was funny. But yeah, I'm pumped for JK that how having success early coming off this Achilles. I think he's only gonna get better as the season goes.
Yeah, he looked really good in that game. I thought Aaron did too. Their defense just needs to step up a little bit, and they're also playing San Francisco, who's really, really freaking good. I thought that one drive that they had where they marched it down, that was really going to set the tone for the rest of the game, and it was difficult, man. It was hard sledding for them. What are some things that you've been just taking in and absorbing a bunch of football, college, NFL? What are some things that you're seeing right now that are showing up more prevalent than it was, say, 5-10 years ago in both the NFL and the college game, from just maybe lack of preparation, holding guys out, just lack of being able to develop and work as a team, work on your craft?
I think what's weird is like at least in the NFL, like I know just it's been 1 week, everyone overreacts, but quarterbacks, I think their numbers are down a little bit for whatever reason. Maybe defenses are ahead of offenses. That's what they always say. Like, hey, the defense just see ball, get ball. So there's not as much like install and things you have to get exactly right for things to go well and to actually execute. That might be part of it, but I've been impressed. I know I came on and talked last, about the Ohio State defense. I think the Ohio State defense, obviously, 2 weeks, they've done exactly what they should. They look amazing. I love everything they're doing. But defense in general, like, I don't know. I feel like defense is making a little bit of a comeback on how they're running, hitting, using the proper leverage, like old school, fundamentally sound football. I feel like we're getting back to that. Maybe some of the RPO stuff, they've settled down and defenses kind of understand exactly how they're going to defend that stuff. But I think it's been fun to watch. Like I've turned into, as I get older, like a football nerd watching. Like when I see guys with great fundamentals and great hand placement and everything, I get pumped. I'm like, I don't care what happened on the play. Like these two D linemen, they just absolutely manhandled the O linemen. They did exactly what you're coached to do. And I just have fun watching that. That's when I see like Fred Warner in that game too. That punch out he had early on with Aaron's first completion was ridiculous. Like I love that stuff. I wish that would have been around more. I would have thought to do that more when I was playing. Like these dudes are punching like that's your first thought. I'm coming up to make a tackle. I'm punching the ball and then I'm like rapping. Like that's your first thing. It's awesome.
Well, Ageman, you had a broken knuckle and you've had broken wrists. Like, I mean, I think we were good with all the punching and everything that you were doing out there. You got a chance to see the Buckeyes. They didn't have any turnovers this week, but defensively, 10 3 and outs, under 100 yards of total offense for Western Michigan. I don't know if I've ever seen, definitely not been a part of a performance that dominant. And I don't care if it's a MAC school or whatever. I mean, they're an FBS program. The fact that they only had, I think, 5 or 6 first downs in the entire game is absolutely unreal.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like everyone out there, no matter who you're playing, like these guys are on scholarship too. That's the old saying that people say in the NFL. They say, hey, these guys have contracts as well. And yeah, the speed and the discipline that they have is what's really cool to see. And you're right. Like no matter who you're playing, the fact you haven't given up a touchdown, 10 3 and outs. And also like, I feel like the offenses have to be like, at some point after a couple of drives, they have to be thinking like, okay, what can we do? Like sometimes, like every once in a while, I know we had situations back when we were playing in college. Who was it that took like they threw a screen and took like 80 yards?
State.
Yeah, San Diego State. They take that screen or whatever, that now pass, they take it 80 on like the first play or first series of the game. And then I don't think we gave up anything else the rest of the game. But I feel like this Ohio State defense, like there's not even really hope to get lucky. Yeah, well, maybe a guy peeks inside or somebody bites on a double move and we'll get him. We'll get a cheap score. Like, I don't know. They haven't shown any signs of anything like that. So they're all playing together. And I think they're deep too. Like, this is what's cool too. You continue to develop these young guys as you go.
Super deep.
Yeah, super deep. I mean, who doesn't like that? But talk about the offense a little bit, because we're all three here defensive guys. What have you seen from the offense that you love about Ohio State?
Well, how do you stop them? That's what I want to know. Like, what can you do to consistently stop them? I guess there's so many weapons. The running, I mean, are you kidding me? How fast Travion and Judkins, how fast they are and how they finish their runs. Like, it's cool having both of them as well. Not only do they get to, kind of, lighten the load a little bit, they get to think every time they touch the ball, they're like, hey, I don't know how many carries I'm going to get this game. I better score every single time I touch the ball. And that's like what it feels like. And I think the rest of them, Will Howard, like, I'm so pumped for that dude and how he has played. He just looks the part. He looks like he loves it, like he's having a great time, but his arm strength is awesome. I think he makes good decisions. I love when we really need him in the biggest games. I think we're going to see him use his legs a little bit to kind of break the defense's back at times.
Oh, they run a little bit of that in the zone read with him running it, then like tossing out the receiver. They've got all kinds of stuff in their baggage that they've been ultimately working on. Before we get you out of here, I know we've got the Hawks Locks for Tots event coming up, and it's going to be a Halloween party this year. Like, you don't have to reveal it now, but I mean, how aggressive are we allowed to be with these costumes?
You can be, Bob. You've been. I think you've pushed the line to be as aggressive as you possibly can. I think one year we had to. Maybe your wife Court made you put on some skivvies because your like Tarzan costume.
You want those back, by the way?
No, they're all you, buddy. So yeah, I think, Bob, whatever you want, explore the space. Whatever costume you need, whatever you feel comfortable in, I think that's what you should wear. We'll have no issue.
All right. Well, we'll work on that. We'll talk about that over the coming weeks. It's going to be a big event. I'm excited. Raise a ton of money for a great cause over there with the Buckeye Cruise as well. Age, I know you got to get out here. Go to the Pat McAfee Show. Thank you for spending some time with us. I know the folks love it, and it's great to get a chance to talk to you here this week. All right, big guy?
All right. Thanks, guys. Good to see you. Good luck.
All right, attention, parents and athletes. I want to tell you this: protect what matters most with X Sport mouthguards, trusted by professional athletes and designed by NHL dentists. X Sport mouthguards are scientifically tested to absorb hits, high impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. X Sport mouthguards feature 3 layers of protection, including a patented use of carbon fiber, custom fit to your unique smile with 3D printing. They even fit Schlegs' jaggedy old chomps over there. That means protection, better performance, maximum comfort with clear communication. So you can focus on your game, not on your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Visit xsportguards.com/Bobby. Save 15% on your X Sport order. Protect what matters most. All right, come up next. We're going to dive into the AP poll, see where the Bucks are ranked, see what everything's there. The movement, Schlegs, how it's all going. Thanks for locking in here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
Well, how do they know I'm doing this? Did somebody leak this out?
It's social media.
Oh.
That's the way social media works now.
I thought maybe you were just running that yep.
Welcome to Big Play, a sports media team that started back in 2014, and now we're not in a garage. Look at us, incorporating some of Cleveland's favorite sports personalities, bringing you fun and compelling content from downtown Cleveland. Coming to you live from the shores of Lake Erie and Burke Lakefront Airport, join Team Big Play for all the best sports talk in Ohio. Check us out on social media at Big Play, bringing you fun and compelling content from downtown Cleveland.
Anthony Schlegel. All right, Schlegs, I know we teased the AP poll, but I also want to remember and bring note to this, because you would have been, I believe, already at the prep school, if I'm not mistaken, maybe already
freshman year at the academy.
Yeah, freshman year at the academy. And it is September 11th, the anniversary of 9/11, the 23rd anniversary of that. And, It's amazing, Schlegs. It's been 23 years since this has happened. I was a senior in high school, and I remember it happening during the week and the conversations, do we play, do we not? I know they canceled college games that week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe they did. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did.
So
and remember, but that was the one thing, Ohio alum, St. Ignatius alum, that was the one where they played Monday Night Football and Chris Gizzy came out with the flag after that, running out with the flag, also an Air Force Academy linebacker.
It's pretty amazing, the stuff. And obviously last year, watching Aaron run out on 9/11 with the American flag, Aaron Rodgers to open the season, pretty powerful stuff. And we ended up playing. We played Grove City High School. We lost a close game that year, but it was just Schlegs, like we never were a part of our generation, Kennedy or Vietnam and some of those things. Like that was the most impactful, I think, event in our life. And I remember my dad and people would talk what happened when Kennedy got shot. And that, to me, like in a sports sense and everything else that happened surrounding it, how it stopped that week. We didn't practice that day. We sat in the locker room and talked about like what it meant to be an American, everything that had happened, all the stuff that was going to transpire, how the world was going to change, because we knew that at that point it was never going back ultimately to what it was going to be. So I can't even imagine, because you were at the academy. I mean, you were part of the armed services at that point. What were there conversations? I mean, I know it was a long time ago, but for you, that had to be a very unique experience, probably different than most other athletes.
Yeah, I mean, we were, everybody went back to their dorm rooms. You weren't allowed to go to the chow hall because they didn't know where the attacks were coming from. So then all of a sudden, if you go and sit in our chow hall, there's 4,000 cadets sitting in one location. So that was dispersed. How we handled road games and not wearing uniforms as a freshman. You had to wear civvies and things like that. But it was just very real, right? It's like, hey, this is why we're here. We're here to serve. But it was just, a lot of self-introspection and a lot of talking about, how our world is changing. So, it was very real in that setting, and understanding why you're going to the academy is to serve in the armed forces, and understanding that there's going to be a lot of men and women that are going to be going out to do that here very, very shortly because of what transpired on 9/11. Yeah,
it was wild because no one knew at that point exactly what was happening, who it was. They're just trying to obviously save as many people, nearly 3,000 people perishing during that attack. And the reflecting pools, I would encourage everybody, if you've never been up to New York City and seen the 9/11 memorial, very, very powerful. The two pools, the water flowing in, all of the names out there. And, I put it out on Instagram earlier today. They had a full timeline of events because your brain gets cloudy as to what happened when. And I think I was walking the cafeteria for study hall early lunch when the second tower got hit. And it was a remarkable scene just to be able to see that. And as we're talking about the first one and then seeing the second tower get hit and everything that ultimately happened, it put in perspective, like you get to play a game, which is awesome. Football is tremendous. You really enjoy it. All the sports, we enjoy unbelievable freedoms and liberties in this country. We're given unbelievable opportunities, and I'll espouse that till the day that I die. And with that comes jealousy around the world. People don't like our way of life sometimes. And you know what? That's okay. It's not a perfect country by any stretch, but I will always contend this, Schlegs. It's the best thing we've got going in the world. And it's because of people like you who went to the academy. Many of them went on and served. There's still people serving to this day. There's still people overseas in Iraq. We pulled obviously out of Afghanistan. But it is 9/11. So listen, make sure you commemorate those who lost their lives, the people that were involved, the firefighters, first responders, the police, everything that was involved in New York at that point in time. And my producer at ESPN, when I went there, he took me around and took me to everything. And he had lost a number of friends in that attack, people that were in the towers or on planes ultimately that day. So like I said, make sure we commemorate, make sure we thank everybody who has served, first responders, people in our armed forces, everyone out there, so we can enjoy our sports that we love to talk about. We get to talk about here on the Bobby Carpenter Show. So with that, I promise we're going to get to the AP poll. We're long for Rocky Boiman. He's going to be up next. We're going to dive into it with him. He's watched Ole Miss in person. He's seen Georgia in person. He's a Notre Dame alum. He's the guy you want to talk to for listening to college sports. He's up next here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
we were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the.
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like. I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer.
I don't buy into this nonsense, this conspiracy nonsense that he's got his money and he's dogging it. That's ridiculous.
Welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and excited now to be joined by my guy, Rocky Boiman. Give him a follow on Twitter at RockyBoyman50. Notre Dame alum, works at 700 WLW. You can hear him on ESPN each and every week, calling games across the country and doing a great job of it. Rocky, thanks for spending some time with us today.
Bobby, Anthony, how you guys doing, man? Pleasure to be with you.
All right, thank you, Rocky. And you got a chance, called Ole Miss. You got a chance to see Georgia this year. I think you had Ole Miss week one. What was that like? What did you see out of them? A team that people have talked about being maybe one of the most talented teams in the SEC, if not the entire country.
First of all, guys, let me say this. Had I visited Oxford, Mississippi before I visited Notre Dame, I wouldn't have made it out of Oxford, Mississippi. That place is awesome down there. You know what I'm talking about. It's some beautiful people and some good times down there. So you can see why a high school kid would want to go play football down there. But for Ole Miss, look, it's Lane Kiffin's got a way of doing things, and he's going to hit the portal, and he hit it hard. He got 5 of the top 60 portal guys this year, and this is a team that won double-digit games last year. And he said, it's not good enough. They got beat, if you recall, last year 52-17 by Georgia. And after the game, he said, look, they got like 25 stars. We got 1. So as good as we are, we got to get better. So they went in the portal. They got, Walter Nolan. They got UMM. I can't pronounce his name. The defensive end from Florida. Got a bunch of guys, and that roster is absolutely stacked. And I think, guys, they have the depth. And when you're talking the SEC, it's depth that you got to have. You got to have as the season goes on and guys get injured. You got to be able to bring in guys that are just as good without a drop off as the game goes on and guys get tired. You got to bring in a second string that doesn't have any drop off. And I was very, very impressed with Ole Miss.
Yeah, Ole Miss has done a great job again. Much like Ohio State, much like a lot of the big programs, right? Being able to fill the void on their roster with transfer portals. And again, we've seen it. It doesn't matter how much you spend on guys, you got to spend the money on the right guys. And that's something that Lane Kiffin probably, he's obviously done a good job. Probably why people on the down low are talking about him potentially going to Florida because he could do it there. But the bigger, like a huge game, another test that they're going to have later in the season is against Georgia. Have you already seen them? You've already talked about them. Give us a little insight into what Georgia has this season.
First of all, I'm down on the field at Georgia before the game, and I look over and I see this huge guy. I'm like, God, man, all these good-looking bodies out there, and it's the freaking punter. The punter is like 6'3", 230 and is a unit. I'm like, good God, like even the punter is huge down here. So. You just look across the board, across the field, and it's top athletes. And here's a couple of things that stick out to me. Number one, Georgia rotates about 24 guys on defense. And
Wow.
like 24 guys record a stat in a game. So there's literally no drop off. A team wants to run tempo on you. Okay, boom. We'll pull our 4 defensive linemen out. We'll rotate 4 new guys in. They don't miss a beat. And it's a complex scheme that they run down there. They're not just playing cover 2 and cover 3 and man, and that's it. You got to know what you're doing. And they challenge those guys, both offense and defense, every day of the year to learn more, to practice more, to compete more. So it is absolutely a great institution. And one of the biggest things, compliments I can give them is, I mean, during our game, they had 4 running backs, Trevor Etienne, Branson Robinson, a new freshman named Nate Frazier, Cash Jones, even another guy. And all those guys would probably be number 1 running backs on other teams. Yet they go 4 deep on Georgia. They don't lose these guys because they want to be a part of that culture. They want to be a part of excellence that's just exuded every single day around that place. In a day and age where guys are bolting left and right, the first time they don't see the field for the whole game, I think that's a testament to what Kirby Smart's building down there.
And you've seen that. You talked about Georgia. They bring in a handful of transfers, very selective with what they do. Lane brought in a lot more. And we've seen this, Rocky, where, Georgia's brought in, or Oregon's brought in a number of transfers. LSU or Florida State brought in a ton. There's been a couple of teams that really have leaned into this, and some of them have struggled early on. How did Lane talk at all about, culture of how they've tried to integrate these guys and still have managed to start relatively fast?
Well, to your point, I think, to not use the portal is ridiculous. This is still, guys, about the Jimmies and the Joes, whether you're talking 7-year-old football or college football or pro football. You got to have the players. You guys know that. So it's dumb to not use a tool that's given to you and deny it. But I don't know if long-term the solution is living in the portal like Deion's doing, of course. I don't think that's the answer either. Even with as many portal transfers as Lane brought in, he still had a base of a really, really good team. He just got a couple, like 3 guys on defense that were absolute studs. He brings in a running back that's a stud. So again, he brought in some guys, but there was a core, a nucleus there. Same thing with Georgia. They had an excellent team, but boy, we'd like to make sure we're really deep at running back. So you bring Trevor Etienne in, right? You bring in the wide receiver from Vanderbilt. You bring in a couple key guys and you solidify that roster where there might be a little hole, a little question mark. I think that's the model to go with.
So, Rocky, Notre Dame alum, we saw the NIU game, watched it feverishly, thought, hoping that Marcus would be able to pull it out. Coming off the Texas A&M game, where do you think they go from here? Do you think they're going to have another growth? Because the stats say, especially passing the football, like they're down at the bottom of all the Power 4 conferences when it comes to those stats. There's a lot of stuff that they got to work on going through the schedule, which again, coming out of Texas A&M, we're like, man, they're going to the college football playoff. They're going to be the number 5 seed. And then boom, NIU at home. Where do you think the Irish go from here?
Well, look, first of all, how good is Texas A&M? I think that's something that we'll see in a couple of weeks. And if they don't start winning some games, now all of a sudden that win opening weekend at Kyle Field isn't going to look like much at all. For me, I guess the biggest thing, I didn't get to watch the whole game. I was watching in and out as I was, driving to the airport in Atlanta and stuff. But I thought Notre Dame didn't look fast. And you guys know speed kills. You got to have a fast team. I didn't think Notre Dame could get the edge on a team that they should be able to get the edge. They should be able to get to the perimeter on NIU. I'm sorry, as good as that team and as good as that program is, and I think NIU is a great and one of the best MAC teams there is. So there's that. And then Riley Leonard's a guy, I liked him when he was at Duke. I liked his toughness. I liked his leadership. I liked him as a passer. But right now, that his ability to get the ball down the field, which you have to have big plays, guys. You guys know, you guys are both defenders, as am I. Like, what's the single biggest backbreaker to a defender? It's like, boy, you're playing tough defense. We're stopping, then boom, there goes one 60 yards over your head. I mean, what a crusher, right? I mean, I think that's worse than just getting pounded over and over and over because we're playing good. So if Notre Dame doesn't have the ability to do that, it's going to be hard to win in today's college football. I know that Leonard has a shoulder injury, his non-throwing shoulder. What I read today is that he's expected to play against Purdue. That's something to keep your eye on. Every Notre Dame, Subway alum out there wants to see CJ Carr, of course. So we'll see how it goes. But they got some soul searching to do at Notre Dame. That was a bad loss. That was one that I was actually angry about. Notre Dame's lost in the past, and it's like, okay, it's disappointing, but I was actually angry about that one because that just shouldn't happen.
looking at that, like they've got the A&M win, and we'll figure out what that was. But I thought against A&M defensively, they looked very fast. I thought they looked very capable. And then watching NIU, if you go look at the numbers and you watch it, like they were able to push the ball down the field, running the football, not necessarily through the air, but a lot of those drives, it was a little bit more low pad. And you begin to ask yourself, and like I know Marcus is a young coach, it's his third year there, but getting ready and making sure you can get up 2 weeks in a row. You're Notre Dame. You're going to get everybody's best shot. Do you feel like that was maybe as much a product of it as anything?
Yeah, of course. But you just said it. I mean, I played there for 4 years. You know that every opponent on your schedule, that's their biggest game, and that just comes with the territory. And the players know that. He knows that. At some point, look, there's across college football, there's teams that. I mean, look at Oregon. They've looked like crap, but somehow they're 2-0, right? And that's all that matters right now is you're 2-0, and if you got your health or not. At some point, you just like to think. I like to think as a Notre Dame alumni, okay, they're mentally more focused than us. They got the momentum on their side, but damn it, one of our guys just makes a big play, just out athletes them, and we win the game. And it didn't happen, and that's frustrating.
Hey, Rocky, as you're looking at this new top 25 and you're seeing a lot of movement now, I think, what are you getting from the perception of people that are putting this out as to how they're looking game by game? Because we're seeing people jump 10, we're seeing people drop 12, right? It's all over the board. What are they really looking at now as they start to put these rankings out there?
Yeah, I think, look, I mean, it's all preseason. Polls are always so hard, especially now with the transfer portal, because a team can be absolutely completely different. I mean, I got Mississippi State this year, and they have exactly 0 starters on offense that they did last year. So how are you supposed to make a prediction about how good a team is when, teams literally have 45, 55 new guys on the team? Even look at Michigan. They're ranked really high, but I mean, God, I think that's more kind of what we think is going to happen versus what their actual roster is. You look at a team like Tennessee, I think they should be a little bit higher, but I think now what you're just seeing is we've had the opportunity to see these teams for a couple weeks. And as much as I think the AP didn't get a lot of things right, they're at least now you can see the teams, you can judge by what they are instead of what you think, which is so much harder now than it is in years past.
All right, Rock, I know you're up against it here. We got to let you go. Where are you at this week? And what do you think about the game?
Yeah, so I got Toledo at Mississippi State. It's kind of nice, man. Being, through actually 4 straight weeks in the SEC, and these aren't the most barn burner games, but being around these great programs and stuff is really cool to see them. Now, this week is Toledo at Mississippi State, and as you guys know, you guys live close to Toledo. Toledo's a real team in the MAC, so there's another kind of upset alert here. I mean, the past 15 years, Toledo has never been under 500. They won a MAC title 2 years ago. They lost in championship game last year. Jason Candle, that coach, they got a stacked roster. Mississippi State, last week, kind of got in a hole against Arizona State early on. They couldn't run the ball, couldn't stop the run. I mean, they gave up 300 yards rushing, which is borderline just throw up, right? You guys are linebackers. So they got to fix that. Yeah. But exciting, Jeff Levy's that coach down there. He runs that super fast offense, which can be fun and exciting. So if I can, actually, collect my thoughts over all the cowbells ringing, hopefully I'll be able to call a good game.
Absolutely. Well, hey, intensity and passion are never a bad thing, Rocky. You always love to see those, and we love to have you on. We really appreciate you taking some time with us today, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
I love being on with you guys, man. Let's do it again soon, all right? You guys are the best.
Thanks, Rocky. Appreciate it, brother.
All right. He's Rocky Boiman, like I said, 700 WLW. You can see him on the calls on ESPN. He does a great job, Notre Dame alum, all over the place, and former teammate of mine briefly, and was up with Mickey Marotti Schlegs at Notre Dame. So he's fully apprised at the offseason program what that ultimately looks like. All right, coming up next, we've got our headlines, and there's some big ones in there today. Stay tuned on the Bobby Carpenter Show. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Bobby Carpenter. I want to give a huge thank you and a shout out to Affinity Whole Health, the leaders in the testosterone replacement industry. I've been on a testosterone replacement program for a few years right now, and I've got to tell you, it's been an absolute game changer. Affinity Whole Health has allowed me to be the best version of myself, both mentally and physically. I loved how easy it was to get started. I booked my free consultation, met with my prescriber, checked my numbers, and Affinity Whole Health designed a program that was customized to fit my needs. So I'm telling you guys, if you have low energy, you want to get rid of that spare tire around the waist or take it to the next level in the bedroom, Affinity Whole Health is the place to get started. So don't wait any longer. 5 minutes of your time, book your free consultation. You're going to love the way you feel. All right, now we're into our headlines, which is brought to you by our friends over at Affinity Whole Health. Affinity Whole Health offers personalized treatment plans to help you feel better, folks. Whether you're struggling with weight loss, low energy, muscle loss, sleep issues, they're here for all of it. They can help you safely reach your goals. Affinity Whole Health, they provide that as expert guidance to help get you there and take care of everything. They've got Ohio covered. They're in Cleveland, they're in Columbus, they're out in Indy, they're up in Chicago, and they keep expanding for you. So go to AffinityWholeHealth.com. Go be sure to check them out. I've been a patient there for 7 years, and they have been absolutely tremendous. All right, Schlegs, we got our headlines today. We got a little bit of stadium news coming up. Some stadiums down in Florida, and I don't know if you saw this. I mean, I'm a big Pit Bull fan, Schlegs. Enjoy it as much as anybody. I think old Pit Beezy's a pretty good dude. I believe his real name is Armando. He used to be Mr. 305. Now he's going worldwide. Well, Florida International, Schlegs, I believe, is located down in Fort Lauderdale. I believe his daughter just recently graduated or is going to graduate from there, and he bought the naming rights. The 305's Pit Bull Stadium, Mr. 305 right there. And we're talking about this in the end zone. It says, what? You tell me. What is that?
I know. I mean, I thought it said Dale. I thought it said Dale for like Lauderdale, right? But it's not, I guess, according – you said it was Dale. And I guess that's why there's that little doomajink right there above the E, Bob.
Yeah, what was that, a little the accent, the tilde somewhere in there, Schlegs.
Dale!
I mean, I thought it was Dale too. My mom always told me this: it's better to remain silent and leave them to wonder than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. I mean, you went in hard with that Dale at the beginning until our producer Pat was like, "Listen, bro, it's Dolly," and that's a big thing. I thought I knew Pitbull pretty well, a lot of his music. Big fan of his, but yeah. So they've got that. So I think it's pretty awesome. Like if I had limitless dollars, and I asked when they made when Nick Swisher had the baseball field, they still had, the stadium, it still holds its name, Bill Davis Stadium, but they have Nick Swisher Field. And I remember asking Gene Smith, I go, we can still call it Ohio Stadium, but how about Bobby Carpenter Field? What's it going to take? And he looked at me and goes, there's not enough money in your bank account, buddy. He goes, I don't know if there's enough money in the state of Ohio to change that. Now, that was like 10 years ago, so we'll see ultimately how that moves. But with that, we have some news about Ohio State.
Okay.
And what they're doing. The 1922 club. Do you know what's significant about 1922, Mr. Schlegel?
Is that when they finished Ohio Stadium?
Well, considering they had the 100-year anniversary a couple years ago, I think you were correct in saying that. So, yes, that was when they finished Ohio Stadium. And so with that, they're going to open up a little lounge area. How about this? Little lounge area and restaurant in the stadium. And it's going to be like a dining club. They're going to have some stuff at it with the stadium and some different elements that are going to be going around with it. But it's the 1922 club. Here's some of the things it's going to have. It's hopefully going to be open in 2026. It's going to be on the east side of the stadium around gate 20, I want to say. But, for the stadium, they're going to have all-inclusive food, beer, wine, cash bar for spirits. You get to go in the stadium beforehand, after the game, dedicated entrance, like high society stuff, pre-sale tickets for other games. Plus, you'll be able to go and have some exclusive member-only events, but then you can eat at the restaurant all year long. So that's like the highest tier. You get your own account executive. And then you can have another tier where like you don't go in there on game days, but you're just a member. and a yearly member to be able to go there and eat. Now, the renderings there look pretty sweet, and I think it might be something that's cool. And as they try to figure out these new revenue streams, I'm pretty excited to kind of see where this is going.
Yeah, I just don't know if they're going to let me in that club. Even if
Why
I'm
not,
like,
Schlegs? You're famous.
I don't know. I don't know if they're going to accept Carhartt and jeans and boots. You know what I mean? So that's normally what I wear at a game. But again, hey man, I kind of view this as, you know, the Cowboy Stadium, Bob. You were down there, right? They have that VIP access club where people are there and the guys walk through. Really cool. Again, today's day and age, 2024, like how are we generating revenue? We talked about the naming rights of the stadium. We talked about Bobby Carpenter Field. That would be amazing. But just another way that, you know, they can generate revenue and pique people's interest to want to be in the exclusive club at like the 1922 club.
I give them credit for this because it's one thing to just go ask for people for money. Give them a unique experience. Right. And this is supposed to be elite fine dining. I'm curious to see kind of how that's all going to be wrapped into it, how they're going to be able to continue to service that. But I think it's close to campus. People come into campus. It'll be a novelty. I think it's going to be a fairly decent size, not like sprawling. Game day, you obviously want to have it be big, but it's only on the east side of the stadium because right now everything, the press box, the Huntington Club, all the loges, all those are on the west side. So this will give people something on the east side, which is where my tickets are, by the way, so they can slide on in there. I'm curious, like as far as we talk about stadium renovations, like when they decide to make the whole B deck club seats, there's a lot of things that can go on, a lot of different stuff, ways they can monetize that. But I love the fact that they've leaned into this. I don't know if this was in the works before Ross Bjork came in or this is kind of his baby. I'll have to figure that out and find out about it. But I've already had like some of our former teammates ask about it. So pretty darn excited about I think they will let you in. I mean, you may have to wear that Charlie Sheen get up for Rick Vaughn from Major League. You know, you can wear the cutoff suit. You know, you feel like a banker in that thing, but you can still, you know, show those pipes and feel good about life. So maybe we'll have to get to that. But long for a break here. We've got our tailgate talk coming up next. We're excited to answer your questions here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
Building a home for the people who are worth it. Stepping out, throwing in a line, and dropping the tailgate for a picnic. And finding far-off campsites with the people you're closest to. Upgrade your truck, Jeep, or Bronco with over 1 million parts and accessories. And bring your truck to life. Real Truck.
All right, we appreciate you tuning in here, folks. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, leave comments. That's where we get to them here in Tailgate Talk, where you love the show, hate the show, whatever it is. Questions, we are here for all of it. We want to be able to answer it because Tailgate Talk's our favorite segment. It's brought to you by Real Truck, the #1 truck accessory brand in the United States with top-selling upgrades for the ultimate tailgate party. Gear up for the season. Bring your truck to life at realtruck.com. Schlegs, last year we got some covers for the back. I got a new Jeep cover. I got a bumper for my Jeep, a winch for my Jeep. We got all kinds of things. They got Jeep, they got truck, they got something for everybody there. That we go hunting, fishing, doing whatever. I use that winch to like pull trees and stuff out of our marina so I can fix my boat dock. They can get it all done.
I use it all the time, Bob. Matter of fact, if there's one thing I recommend, and you got a pickup truck, get the amp bed step. It's fantastic. Both my trucks are really alive. It's alive. Yeah, it's alive because it's awesome and everything I put on there. And I'll throw more content about what I put on my truck and why I put it on there. But I'm a huge Real Truck fan.
All right, let's go to the AP poll now. We can toss that up there. Take a look at some of the different teams. Before we get to a couple quick questions here, we've got Georgia at the top. We've got Texas jumping Ohio State after a win against Michigan. It's always an interesting deal because the AP poll now, Schlegs, is moving more like the college football playoff poll, like committee's poll. And I don't necessarily hate it. Like Texas went into Michigan and they beat a team that was ranked in the top 10 and beat them soundly. Like, Ohio State has won 2 games very handily. They just haven't played anybody elite as of yet. So that doesn't necessarily bother me. What say you, sir?
Well, I mean, if you look at Ole Miss, that point stays true. They beat Furman and Middle Tennessee State. Now, they beat them handily, and guess what? So did Ohio State. Ohio State's ranked 3rd. Again, the numbers don't matter. We look at that playoff system as, the top 4, but still in that seeding, like, what is that road? And that's going to be predicated upon also who gets hot at the end. That determines the path of least resistance to the college football playoff championship game. So right now, doesn't really matter. You look at like Ole Miss coming up, like they got Kentucky, South Carolina. That's going to be a big game that they have. South Carolina has this week. They play them in a couple weeks. LSU, Oklahoma, Arkansas, the Georgia. Like things are going to start playing themselves out as we move down the road. Alabama moved back because we saw them struggle, even though they beat USF handily. They went from 4 to 7. And you're seeing other teams leapfrog.
Well, I think you're looking at that in the ESPN power rankings. In the AP, I think that Bama did stay at 4. Ole Miss came up to 5. Then you had Missouri, Tennessee, Penn State.
So many polls, Bob. So many polls.
Power rankings, whatever that is, how that's different than the poll. Oregon is sitting there, or Penn State's sitting there, I believe, at 8. Oregon at 9, and Miami ultimately at 10. USC at 11. So there's still 4 teams in the top 11 with the Big Ten. So they're still in a pretty good spot. Not terrible. Nebraska also jumping in, I believe, at number 23, 22 there at the back end. Iowa falling out after their loss to Iowa State. So I think Nebraska could be undefeated when they play Ohio State, which would be tremendous because then you would have, hopefully Iowa can win, get back in. You can play Iowa, you can play Oregon, you have a bye. And I think then you have Nebraska ultimately after that. So that would be a pretty robust and beefy little schedule there over 4 weeks to give you some juice. We do have one question that came through that I really liked in Tailgate Talk, Schlegs. If we can toss that up there, Pat. What do you think the best linebacker combo is against passing opponents? Or who do you think we will see out there during more of the matchup games, meaning probably like Oregon or even Iowa that runs the ball more? Like, how do you see this linebacker rotation filling out? By the way, Arvell Reese played a ton and played really well on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now you have Cody Simon and Sonny Styles. Like, those are your main 2. It depends on what type of front. Like, if you play the Wisconsins of the world or the Iowas of the world where you're going to give you multiple tight ends, you could potentially see a 9 technique out there. I think that could potentially be Arvell or even Sonny playing in that. You already know that Cody Simon is your Mike. But right now, that's kind of the rotation. CJ comes in, kind of a blitzing type guy. You have depth there, right? You have guys, and they're big physical guys, and that's what you're seeing. You're seeing them be able to run sideline to sideline, but again, that's them building trust in the games, Bob.
It is. It's them building trust in the games. You'll love to see it. The guys are all unique and different. Arvell Reese really making a big jump. I think he's going to press for even more and more playing time as moving forward. Well, that is our Tailgate Talk brought to you by Real Truck. Go check them out. The best truck accessories anywhere you're going to find. All right, coming up next, we'll close up the show, get the parting shots from Schlegs.
We were called soft last year. You don't want to be soft, especially when you come to the playoffs. So that's going to be a process throughout this season of establishing us as a harder team here in the.
I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like. I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer. All right, Schlegs. Final thoughts here in your final 30 seconds.
Yep. 9/11, never forget, never forgotten. Big games this week, even though Ohio State's not playing, they're still improving. Always remember that. Wherever you are, be fanatical about what you're passionate about. Be the best version of yourself.
Love it, Schlegs. Even though it's not a huge weekend in college football, there are some good games that will be out there, so make sure you check it out. And heck, Purdue could give Notre Dame a run for their money. So that's all the time we have for today. Make sure you check us out, like, subscribe, and stay locked in here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.